Welcome to the A Train Sports Talk podcast and the video stream. I want to say that I am elated to have today's guest on at the 1 o'clock hour. He is no stranger. He's been on my podcast before, but this time you get to put the face with the voice. He is none other than the coach of the undefeated Derby Panthers. And yes, we people here in Wichita, we claim Derby as our own as well too. And we like their slogan, hashtag green is magic. None other than my good friend, Coach Brett Flory. Coach, welcome in. I want to say I'm elated to have you on here. Couldn't ask for a better guest. You're my second guest, but man, thus far this season has been magical. I want to say I had a chance to see your team last year. So when I made it out to the first game this year against Andover,
Mhm.
first thing I noticed was, wait a minute, this team like it had a makeover and added some athleticism and some length to the team. So tell me how that came about.
Yeah, we the core of the team we brought back from last year with Jack and Caden Titus and Mason Bowie, and so we had a nice core returning last spring. Jackson Malvo transferred here from Southeast and um, got all settled in around here last spring and was able to work out with us all summer long and practice with us all summer and kind of integrate into the team. And uh, losing Caden Franklin last year, that was a nice piece to be able to add, someone who had some inside presence for us to that senior class. And then um, coming up from JV, Kale Klingen at about 6'7" and really a skilled kid. He's been a program kid and since shoot, I think he's been coming to camp since third grade or earlier. So we've been working on developing him for a long time. He's kind of a late bloomer, but he can really shoot the ball, and he's really come on for us the last couple games. He was our best shooter probably all summer long, and kind of labored at the start of the year a little bit. But the championship game in Dodge City, he came through with 21 points for us, and he was really, really good the other night in Hutchinson as well. So yeah, we've got a nice balance of the good guards that we returned, and we've been able to add. We're still a little undersized overall, but we've been able to add a little bit of length and athleticism to the group as well.
Absolutely. Now, one of the things I've noticed these mid-season tournaments, and I'm gonna correlate the two because I've been one that want to see certain matchups. So, like last season
Hmm.
during the state tournament, I want to see the Heights girls team against Derby girls team, and it so happens that just like you guys was in a tournament last week with
Hmm.
Heights, now the girls team was in a
Yep.
tournament in Emporia with Heights. I'm like, is the basketball guys trying to align things up? But that was one of the things I want to talk about though, is that tournament last week because I was kind of intrigued about seeing a Heights Derby matchup. So as it be, not trying to put the cart before the horse, I'm gonna have to wait to see that matchup in March at Coke Arena. But your impression of that Kansas City Piper team, because
Hmm.
I've known a bit about high school basketball, and most of basketball being played in the Northeast up there in that area are the teams with the directions like
Hmm.
Northwest, Northeast. The last team I heard that was of any relevance goes back some years, Kansas City Wyandotte, Calvin Thompson. So what's going on in that Kansas City area, especially with the resurgence of the Kansas City Piper?
Yeah, to be honest, I don't know tons about their conference or anything, but I do know, they're in that Wyandotte area, and I think a lot of the kids that, in the past might have ended up at a Wyandotte in their glory days. They might be finding their way to Piper right now. It seems like because they had some dudes. I mean, they just had some athletic kids who could really go. A couple kids could really shoot the ball. Obviously, if you're athletic enough to be able to hang with and beat Heights like they did, that means you're pretty dang good because it doesn't get a whole lot more athletic than Wichita Heights. So, um, yeah, I mean, shoot, they're as good a team as we've seen and athletic as a team as we've seen. And it was a great game, that championship game. It was double overtime. Each team answered the other one's runs time and time again. We were fortunate to be the one that kind of finished that second overtime with the last run to be able to get enough breathing room to get it done. But whale of a game, very worthy of a championship. And that whole tournament, as we went out there, the top four seeds, we were undefeated. Junction City was undefeated. Heights was undefeated. Piper had one loss. So the top four seeds in that tournament had one loss as it started. So is a heck of a field, and to be able to come out of that as the champion was really a testament to our kids and their effort level, their unselfishness, and how fearlessly they played in game on the line situations, especially in that championship game.
And you actually had a player, 21 points that game. Now his name is slipped my mind,
Avant,
but
yep, Avant Riley probably.
right,
Him and
Avant,
Kale
Avant
both,
Riley.
yeah, yep.
You made the case in point. How was it that he did not make the all tournament team? And I took that into I looked at that, I'm like, yeah, right. How did he not make it? But then I thought about it, you know what? You got some bigger fish to fry. So
Yeah,
once again, sticking with that tournament, because you as a coach, I know one of the things you say at this point in the season, your team probably still hasn't hit its peak yet. And the most important time to hit your stride will become sub-state and tournament. How did a tournament like that prepare you guys for the rest of the season moving forward?
yeah. I think a couple things. One is a confidence builder. When you are able to beat a team as good as Junction City in the semifinal, who's undefeated, and we have to face them again coming up on Monday at their place. That's going to be probably our hardest game of the year coming up soon against them. But to be able to beat them there at Dodge City, and then to turn around the next day and play a team like Piper, it's first of all, great confidence builder for our guys that they can play with the big boys and defeat the big boys. But secondly, though, I mean, that's a state tournament situation. That's exactly the kind of turnaround you might face if we're fortunate enough down the stretch to get to Coke Arena and to get to a state tournament and to get to a Final Four. Those are the types of teams that you're going to have to face on back-to-back nights. So it's great practice for that situation. Hopefully we'll end up in that situation at the end. But like you said, though, it's, our goal is not undefeated. Our goal is not to be Dodge City champions. We had two goals always at the start of a year. And that's first to have the best program culture in the state. And then secondly is to peak in March. And so there's a lot of work we have to do to be able to get that second goal.
And I have to honestly say, I believe that culture is set. I tried my best to just be very unbiased, try not to hop on the bandwagon, try not to show my fandom. But that green is magic bug really bit me. I mean, it bit me so much so to the fact I couldn't wait for basketball season. I decided to come to a few football games. And what I found out, especially if it's a home game, I should have been there the Monday before Friday. Now,
Yeah.
the basketball program, because a lot of people when you say Derby, the first thing they think about good football program. Well, now I'm saying like this: you need to go experience a Derby basketball atmosphere, and you need to get there probably about as the time the bell rings Friday evening if it's a home game,
Mhm.
because they support the girls program, and then if you don't get there in time for the girls game, you might be standing outside the door to watch the boys game. So how have y'all established that culture there?
Yeah, well, without question, Derby is, like you said, first thought is, football and maybe even wrestling too. They've been unbelievably successful. And that's kind of the DNA of the town traditionally. If you go back, 20, 30, 40 years, it's always been that way. And rightfully so, unbelievable programs. But over the years, this is year 14 for me here now. We've worked really hard to kind of carve out a niche and a brand for ourselves in the community. We try to play an exciting brand of basketball. We try to have a culture that is easy for people to root for our kids on and off the court. I know Coach Chadwick does the exact same thing with the girls program and is doing an unbelievable job. And it's been cool that you've seen the community really rally behind both the boys and girls programs as they've gotten more and more successful. And um, it's funny you mentioned it because I got a few texts um, during the semifinal and championship game in Dodge City from people at Little Buster's here in town, and they had the game broadcast up on the big screen there, and the place was packed. People were going crazy when we were doing well, and so it's really, I think it's just a great sports community. Um, Great place to have a family, great place to raise a kid, and a great place to play whatever sport that you're involved in. And there is a culture in the school of like, you don't want to be the team that struggles here because everybody, it seems like, is pretty dang good no matter what sport. Going to the spring, baseball's good, softball's good, right on down the line. And you don't want to be the team that struggles around here because you want to kind of uphold the winning standard. And I think winning is kind of a skill. It's kind of a habit. And a lot of the kids around here kind of understand what goes into winning, the effort, the hard work, the unselfishness, all those elements that go into be a winning team. The kids around here seem to have a pretty good idea about.
Absolutely. And the one thing I think we can honestly say that we don't have to worry about seeing this happen. You look at Gardner, town of Gardner, 2 schools. You look at Mays, 2 schools. You look at Andover, 2 schools. But then when you come to Derby, it's just Derby. And I think someone had asked the question, they said, do you see in the future another Derby high school being built? And I'm like, nope. My thought was no. Derby singular by itself is all that's needed. So to ask that, for me to ask you that question, I already know the answer. Do you see them building another high school in Derby, or is
You
Derby
know,
fine the way it is?
that's above my pay grade for sure to say that. But you know, I can tell you this. I kind of a comparative situation. I went to Lawrence High, and Lawrence High was in the midst of 6 straight state football championships when I was in school there. Um, the school itself was built for maybe 1,500 or so kids. We had 2,300 plus in the building. And that was, and we took freshmen out. Like freshmen went to middle school. That was just 10, 11, 12. My graduating class at Lawrence High my senior year was, I think, 768 or something like that. And we were the small class in the school. So it did eventually get to a point where Free State being built and opened was a necessity. I graduated in 97, and Free State opened the next year. But Lawrence didn't want to do that because it kind of had that same community feel. Now we at our building right now, we have room. It's not overcrowded right now. We're not I had classes in mobile. They brought in like little mobile homes that you had classes in at Lawrence High. It was so overcrowded before Free State opened. So we're not anywhere near that point yet. So I do think it would be quite a ways off before that would be a possibility. If the community grows to the point where you're looking at 3,000 kids or something like that, then obviously you probably have to look at doing something at that point. But like I said, that's way above my head. My job right now is to be a basketball coach and an English teacher, and that's what I'm trying to do. So
You're a pretty darn good basketball coach, I must say.
thank you. I appreciate it. Some
But I like
people might disagree, but
you are molding young men to be productive citizens. Before I let you go, because the story that I still go back to, and this to me is one of inspiration, and I'm pretty sure you know where I'm going with this. J.U. Jack Llewellyn. Elaborate on him and what he means to that team.
um, gosh, you might need about an hour right now. But he, he checks a lot of boxes for us. Best player, best leader, toughest kid, coach on the floor, all of those things. If you didn't know it, well, if you didn't know any better, you would just assume, okay, just an undersized kid who's highly skilled and all that, which he is. But for those listening that might not know, spring of his 8th grade year, he had a mishap and just a kind of a random accident in a PE class um, that basically shattered his hip. And uh, doctor prognosis was you're done playing sports, period, for the rest of your life. Um, I have a picture on my phone of the x-ray after they did the surgery with these big giant nails that are still stuck inside that hip holding that thing together to this day. um, I went and visited him as a young 8th grader. We'd had him at camps, of course, and Coach Chadwick was his middle school coach at the time, and so of course we knew who he was. I went to visit him and try to lift his spirits. But the minute I walked in there and talked to him, I knew the situation. I knew that they were talking about he's probably done with sports. The minute I talked to him, I knew this kid's not done. There's just some individuals in life that have that dog in them, have something special inside their heart, and Jack is one of those dudes. And sure enough, by freshman year, he was ready to try out. He was the best player on our freshman team his freshman year. Had 30-point game against McPherson. I remember early on that kind of told everybody that okay, he's here now. By sophomore year, he's kind of playing a 3-and-D role for a Final Four team around Case and Fisher Brown that year. Hits the biggest shot maybe in Derby basketball history in that quadruple overtime game at Washburn to send us to state. Um, Last year was a bit of an adjustment. When you go to the top of the scouting report, people treat you a little bit differently. So he kind of had to go through a bit of an adjustment period there. But his senior year, he's been nothing short of great. And um, just I'm just lucky. I'm lucky he's on my team, and I don't even want to think about the day that he's not here anymore because you're going to miss him as a person as much as a player. Just a special young man, and couldn't be more blessed to have him and some great teammates around him too. This senior class, they're just unbelievable, and everything that we do is driven by them, and Jack's right at the head of the table with that.
Well, Coach, I want to thank you for taking some time out of your busy schedule. I know you're a busy man, coaching basketball, teaching English class. You just wear many a hats, but you do it well. But I want to thank you once again immensely for being this uh, on this version of the podcast. You deserve those applause right there.
Uh,
Thank you very much. Want to wish you the best of luck the rest of this year, you and your team. And I look forward. Hopefully, I'm not putting the cart before the horse, but I look forward to seeing you guys at Coke Arena this March.
Thank you for having me. Always a pleasure, and we hope. We got a lot of work to do before that point in the season, but that's the goal.
All right. Enjoy yourself.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir. That was my good friend, Coach Brett Flory. Enjoys him. I enjoy him. I enjoy watching him on the sideline, the way he coaches those teams up. I mean, good character coach, instilling good character in those young men. I believe that those players would go through a wall for that coach. I really do believe that. I also want to let you know that this week is the girls' tournament, and you heard me when I was talking to Coach Flory about. It's ironic how the boys' team was in the tournament for Wichita Heights, and some matchups just just intrigue me. For some reason, I have a fixation with wanting to see Wichita Heights versus Derby. I don't know why. I want to see that matchup, but Kansas City Piper put a dent in that. So I'm definitely going to have to reach out to Kansas City Piper to see what's going on out in those neck of the woods. Like I say, it's the A train. I go city to city, state to state, coast to coast. Plain and simple. So I'm definitely going to make a journey to KCP because I want to see what's going on out there. That, like I said, the last time I heard of anything relevant coming from Kansas City Piper, I mean, from the Kansas City area, was Kansas City Wyandotte and Calvin Thompson. As far as I'm concerned, that area had fallen off the basketball map. Yes, I said that. But hey, I don't have to eat crow. I can say I'm glad to see somebody out of that area is back on the basketball map. And hopefully we'll be seeing those teams back in Coke Arena because To me, the world is a better place when you have those Kansas City teams playing in postseason. Uh, there are some other things I also want to talk about as I shift from the local area. I want to look at some things on the national level because, as you know, the video podcast, I kind of tend to be all over the place as opposed to the traditional podcast. The traditional podcast is pretty much strictly about the young Kansas athletes, the coaches, like I just had Coach Brett Florian. Once again, I can't thank him enough. That's why come I call these people my friends. That's also why come I say I have the number one podcast in the state of Kansas. It's not because of me, not because of who y'all see right here. Oh, trust me, it's no. I'm just a participant, so to speak. Yeah, I know I'm the host, but it's my guests that make it what it is. Last weekend I had Jason Marks. He's out there in oh Lord, where's he at? Tennessee, I think, Alabama. He's somewhere. He's somewhere down south. Then I have great coaches on like Coach Brett Flory. I'm also looking to have the coach on from Bethel College, right? That's NAIA school. That's what makes my podcast so unique. What makes it over the top? What makes it number one are the guests. And I know some of y'all are going to say, "Do you have any data to back it up?" No, I don't. I don't need none. And no, I'm not being arrogant or cocky or confident. I always say it like this: if there's another podcast that's doing the same thing I'm doing, that's shining the light on young student athletes with the emphasis on student, then we're not rivals. There's no competition. I applaud you too because you're giving these young people a voice. That's what come I enjoy doing what I'm doing. I'm looking for. I look forward to the day to where I may even have someone that's in. Well, no, I'm not going to put his name out there like that. I do. I do believe in the Privacy Act, but just the other week I went to Holy Savior Catholic Academy for some good young basketball, up and coming basketball talent. And there were, as I would call it, some celebrities in the house. Zoe Franklin Buckner was in the house. Coach Steve Eck was in the house, scouting his young future talent. And I want to encourage you, those of you who are listening at this podcast, especially if you're here in the local area, go check out some of these young up and coming talent because they will be household names. The reason I'm doing what I'm doing right now because my I call him my little guy. I want to call him nephew, but I'm just gonna say Will. That's all I'm gonna say. Seventh grader, and he follows me on X, and he listens into my podcast. So he kind of got concerned, like, "You're not doing the A train no more." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm still doing it. I just have to figure out how to get it to where it's back on Spotify again." So he has encouraged me. I mean, seventh grader, encouraged, and he got some handles. But get out and check out some of these young people. I mean, high school level and even under that, support them. I do because I tell you right now, I could hear my dad talking. Rest in peace, the late Luke Smith. Some of y'all know him. He would say, "We need to praise these youth when they're doing good because if they was doing bad, you'd be talking about." Can I get an amen, somebody? No, I'm not on my preaching soapbox, no. But no, there are some things I do want to look at, though. I want to bring up some things here because there's a lot going on. Uh, I'm not going to talk about the conspiracy theory that is the Kansas City Chiefs because they may also now have some company in that. Uh, Philly also may be the recipient of getting some good calls. I'll leave that for you, the listening public, to figure out. But there is a deal here. Uh, Wimbiana, hope I said that right, sounds off on unfair refs. Not my job to do politics. So Victor Wimbiana argued that a lack of calls from referees contributed to his frustration when he tried to confront Ivica Zubac after the Los Angeles Clippers center knocked him to the court Wednesday. It's a hard thing to fight because it feels unfair sometimes. San Antonio Spurs star said after the 128-116 loss to LA. Of course, we talk about it with the staff, and there is some stuff I have to do to help myself. First of all, being strong and not ba- bailing out shots. But also, there is some work to do, like talking to the refs, of course, explaining myself. But for me, it doesn't feel like it's something I should influence. I'm a basketball player. I'm here to play. And yeah, this is why it's frustrating. It's not my job to do politics. I want to say you better learn how to talk to these officials and get some calls your way. It works for LeBron James. Oh, did I just upset some LeBron James fans right there? Some of your greatest superstars learned how to get calls in their favor. Women, you better learn how to politic for yourself. Wimiana was getting into position for a potential offensive rebound when Zubac shoved him from behind, sending the towering Frenchman tumbling to the ground in front of his bench. The Spurs center attempted to run at Zubac in response, but was quickly held back by a coach. Zubac said post game that he was upset at a missed call himself, believing that Wimbiana had fouled him seconds prior at the other end. So they're doing tit for tat. I was mad at the refs, and then I was late, Zubac said, according to Sports Illustrated's Joey Lynn. Started going up. I saw Wimby crashing, so I knew I had to box him out. Bumped him a little harder. I let emotions take over a little bit. But I apologized to him. That's not the way I want to be on court and compete. Wimby draws 4.8 personal fouls per game, the 19th highest mark in the NBA. Opponents commit a league high 8 fouls on average against Milwaukee Bucks star Giannis Antetokounmpo, with New York Knicks guard Jalen Brunson and Orlando Magic forward Paolo Banchero tied for second at 6.1 drawn personal fouls each. So what do you think? I already told you what I think. I think Wimby needs to become more vocal. I know he just wants to play basketball, but Wimby, you are becoming one of the faces of the league. People know you. People look up to you, not just because you are a towering figure. We've seen how people just gravitate to you when you're in your home country, how you're so giving, how you're like their superhero. If you don't learn how to talk to these officials and get some calls in your favor, you'll fool around and be a fallen hero. Another thing I want to talk about is last night. Wichita State Shockers, valiant effort, came up short. They shot 15 threes. Not a lot, especially in today's game when on any given night, a team can hoist up 25, 30 three pointers, something that's turning my stomach, especially when I see a 7 footer shooting 3 pointers. A good friend of mine, yes, I'm gonna reference his name, Felix Johnson. I hope he comments when he sees this. Says God made you 7 foot tall for a reason, and it wasn't to shoot 3 pointers. And yes, there are some things I saw in that game last night against UNT, University of North Texas. I want to address it right now. And I may upset some people in my assessment. The first thing I'm gonna say is lay off of the get rid of Paul Mills wagon. I know y'all look at me, and yes, I was kind of adamant about they should have gave Isaac Brown 1 more year. Matter of fact, if you go into some of these chat rooms, now it's been said that maybe if you would have waited out the Isaac Brown era, you could have got off with a handshake. But that's neither here nor there. Right now, we're in under the Paul Mills era. I have nothing against Paul Mills. I have something against fickle-minded fans, though, who's ready to throw in the towel after a year and a half. I have something against fickle-minded fans, and I'm gonna name drop again. When people want to pile on one Xavier Bell, I've seen some of the wording. He's not a team player. He's a me first guy. My only downside to the team that I see right now is sometimes y'all need to look up. Seriously. Guards, Hill, uh, Peters, I think that's his name. Washington, Corey Washington. I had him mixed up with St. Peter's. Student knocked off Kentucky in the tournament last year. When y'all are driving in that lane, look up. I've seen on 3 or 4 different occasions last night, I might have lost count, where y'all had Quincy for the easy lob. But if I can reference the name Greg Marshall when he referenced one Eric Hamilton, you guys were like a bull in a china shop. Of course, the officiating was letting some of that stuff go, which, as Mike Kennedy said on the broadcast, the physicality of the game and the referees letting them play favored UNT. However, there was one sequence in the game that I was kind of upset with. Yes, Xavier Bell, at that moment, I think shot an ill-advised three, the one that hit the rim, bounced, hit the top of the backboard. After we had gotten the rebound off of a missed shot, I think that would have been the perfect time to reset the offense. Because I think at that time we were down, 55 to 52. I would have been okay working the ball, getting a 2 point shot, making UNT exert some energy on defense because on average we did a good job taking care of the basketball. We didn't turn it over. We didn't shoot a lot of 3 point shots, but we didn't make a lot either. 3 of 15. We hit our free throws. That second half, we defended much better than we did the first half. But as Coach Mills said in his post game show with Mike Kennedy, it's making those 1 or 2 plays that can make a big difference in the game. And seeing that I mentioned Greg Marshall's name, can I say something to you fickle minded people in these chat rooms? He's not walking back through those doors. Hang it up. As a matter of fact, I would say he walked out the door, but he had no choice but to walk out the door just before all Hades broke loose with the NCAA with NIL and the transfer portal. I think the only coach that has a remedy for this transfer portal is at UConn. Otherwise, explain to me back-to-back national championships. Plain and simple. I believe that if this program, Wichita State, wasn't paying, in essence, 3 coaches and an athletic director, may I say, who I believe does not deserve to get paid because of what he did during the COVID season, 37% raise. There's no secret to that. So by me saying this, don't come at me like, why are you mentioning that? Because it's already been mentioned. It was public. That's why when the public found out about it, they like, this man has to go. My only thing is, and I'm gonna say this on record, as I've said off record, if you have given yourself a raise, a 37% raise at that during COVID season, when there was no income because fans were not allowed into the stadium, how is it that you still got bought out, getting a payout after your services are no longer needed? The way I see it, you got your pay. Yes, my name is on this and my face is on this, and I'm not backing down off of what I see. Anyway, I want to say that I have enjoyed bringing you this podcast version, this video. It is, like I say, streaming on twitch.tv. Also, I have 2 YouTube channels. Don't ask me how that happened. I just stumbled up on things by accident. I'm not the most tech savvy guy in the world. Later on, you will also be able to hear this on the A Train Sports Talk podcast. Also, I want to let you know this weekend I should be picking up the A Train hoodie. Yes, right. You're gonna see my logo on the hoodie. And in the future, guests such as like Coach Brett Flory and some of these student athletes. Guess what? I got someone that's making my shirts for me. My guests will get a free A Train Sports Talk T-shirt. I'm looking forward to doing that. So until the next time that we're on, hopefully I will have you some scores from some tournaments that are going on throughout the state. I'm very intrigued by that tournament up in Emporia. It looks just like the boys tournament that was in Dodge City. It looks to be a very competitive tournament. Want to wish all schools that are playing up there the best of luck. But until the next time, take care of yourself and each other. It's been fun. Have a blessed day. I'm out of here. Once again, thank you, Coach Brett Flory. There will be more great guests to come in the future.